Hello, my name's Nicola Cunningham and I'm a Scientific Officer with the Wildlife Department at the RSPCA. There's a number of different ways in which you can attract wildlife to your garden. One way is to leave areas that are completely untouched, so things like piles of leaf litter, or you can use log piles. You can actually pile things up against the wall. So behind me you'll see a classic example of what would be a typical hedgehog habitat. They can go in and forage around for the kind of food that they like, which are invertebrates. So these are insects, earthworms, and little grubs as well. Anything that you don't really like, a hedgehog will probably love. One of the best hiding places for wildlife in your garden is your compost heap. So whilst you are creating your compost, there might be a lot of creatures very, very grateful for that compost heap as well. So you get things like snakes living in your compost heap. Now they're very, very shy creatures, so you won't always see them, but the heat created in a compost heap is a perfect environment for a snake to live in your garden. A lot of people forget that wildlife actually need water, and it's very, very important to make sure that it's always fresh and it's always clean. So wash out your water bowls very, very thoroughly before you refill them, and always dry them before you refill them. This means that there won't be any build-up of bacteria or anything that can make the animals sick. Make sure that the bowls are nice and shallow as well, because small animals like hedgehogs might actually fall in and drown. Now on that note, a pond is a fantastic environment for wildlife, and in a pond, in your average garden pond, you will find hundreds and hundreds of different organisms living there. Anything from insects to fish to amphibians such as toads and frogs. But what you do have to remember is that a pond can be a very, very dangerous place for small mammals. So always make sure that on the edge of your pond you have a couple of bricks or some stones that make it easy for a small mammal to escape from the pond if they fall in. Otherwise, you can actually buy grids from your garden centre as well. If you want to attract wildlife to your garden, you also have to be very, very careful when you're doing things like gardening. So always make sure that before you use a strimmer, you check underneath your hedges and don't go too close to the edge, because strimmers are one of the largest causes of accidents in hedgehogs, and we see a lot of hedgehogs coming in every single year with the strimmer injuries, which are very, very painful. Also check when you're about to mow your lawn, make sure that you don't let the grass grow too high before you mow the lawn so that there aren't animals living in it. If you have hedgehogs in your garden, it's very, very important that you take care with fruit nets and any other nets such as for football or other games. Make sure that the net is stored away safely, and that if you do have a fruit net, that you check it often to make sure that you don't have any wildlife caught in there. At this time of year, a lot of people are thinking about feeding the garden birds. So there are a number of different ways that you can help them. You can put up a feeder, such as the one just up here. Now you'll see that in the feeder there are peanuts, but you need to make sure that these are unsalted peanuts and that they do not contain aflatoxin. When you put out your feeders, make sure that you keep them away from areas where predators can hide, such as cats and foxes. It's very, very important to make sure that your birds are able to feed in peace and quiet and without any dangers. So if you're putting out a garden feeder, just make sure that you put it right in the centre of your garden, where the birds can see that they are able to feed without any chance of being caught by a predator. Make sure that any feeders or water bowls you put out for birds are cleaned thoroughly to make sure that you don't pass on any diseases to the other birds in the area.